just because you're a believer and just because you're trying to do things on your righteous walk does not make it the end of your search for self. It's not what other people think, it's what you think about yourself. That is what is portrayed to the masses. But I understand that it's not about me. It's not a personal attack to me. It may feel like that in the moment because our flesh feels irritated. Our flesh is like, oh my God, like you're not listening, because they don't understand. Hey my little angels, welcome back to another fine episode of Zhan's Online Podcast. I'm your lovely host, Zhan VA, and I talk all things from my perspective, the way I see it. And this is this week's episode of Bedtime Talks with Zhan. This week, the topic of discussion is they hate Christians. Now, specifically when it comes to building relationships, as someone who recommitted her life about 9 months or so ago, there has been a lot of challenging conversations I may have had to have, or realities I've had to face, that some people are just not going to be in my circle any longer. And today I wanted to dive deeper into the aspect of standing on what you believe in and not running away from it just because people around you or the society that you live in think that you should not be believing as hard as you believe, or you should not do your Christ walk as hard as you're doing it. And I personally think that a lot of believers are misunderstood because of the hate that Christians get and the vast variety of different types of Christians. And, it all gets confusing. So in the end, it really just makes us all look bad. And I want to talk about how that can make believers feel and how it affects our lives as we're trying to build community and build relationships. This week has been something else. It was just filled with joy. Nothing in particular necessarily happened. Just the simple fact that I was able to do what I love to do, and that is create content, that is podcasting. I was able to spend some time with some friends. Doing delivery driving has been working out good for me. It feels good to be getting some type of pocket change. And I'm just all smiles, like I'm living life like Larry, literally. Still been going consistently to the gym, and it's been showing. Your girl has been losing weight, so that always is a morale boost. I've been feeling really good about that. Overall, the Lord is just blessing me with joy and peace, and I just feel very zen overall. So yeah, speaking of spending time with friends, thankfully, the Lord has blessed me with a community of believers, a community of people who, see the same value in things that I see value in. And it's been very helpful to have people like that in my circle. And it's not always like that. And there are, some people in my life who I'm not as close as I used to be because they may not understand or see things the way that I see it. And that's fine. The only problem comes in when people start to mock you, or when people start to feel some type of way because you're on a different path than them. The thing is, non-believers, I feel like, tend to think that some believers, they're better than thou. Now, I will say some believers do, have that self-righteous mentality. I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking about people who are have just woken up and understand that everything is not how it used to be. I see the world, I literally see the world differently, and I see things that are more important than things that other people may not find important. And that can cause divides within friendships, within any type of relationships. And today I kind of want to talk about the friend side of it and the relationship side of it, like the platonic friendship and a romantic one. Because we young, so this is the prime time to be meeting different people, exploring different opportunities, and getting to know different walks of life. And I feel like being a believer shouldn't stop you from doing that, but it stops other people from trying to get to know you, because everyone prejudges, right? The thing is, do you keep that judgment to yourself, or do you walk with that judgment and make this their whole identity? And that's where kind of the problem comes in at. I feel like making friends as a believer should not be hard, because at the end of the day, no matter what you believe in, who you believe God is to be, it's just about community. It's just about finding people who agree with what you think. And in order to do that, you have to be confident in who you are as a person. If you're not confident in who you are, if you don't, carry yourself with a certain stature, then some people may or may not want to be around that. If you're not strong in who you are and your identity, that defines everything. It's not what other people think, it's what you think about yourself. That is what is portrayed to the masses. I think that some people, some believers, they kind of lose their identity in Christ because they're not going about it in the right way. Now follow me, because I know as a believer, as a Christian, you know that you find your identity in Jesus Christ. But some people neglect the differences that we have. But that's what makes us individuals, is that we like different things. We receive information differently. We're all individuals and we're beautifully and wonderfully made in God's image, right? But sometimes it's hard to have that balance of like, okay, you can still do everything to, edify God's glory and still have your own identity. And I feel like that's what makes it kind of difficult for some believers to make friends, especially like in my age group, like the young adults. I think it's hard for people to understand that they can still like certain things and still be a believer, and it doesn't make them less of a Christian. And a lot of things get washed away, washed down, but God is a creator. He loves creativity. I'm not saying believers just need to be out here participating in things that aren't Christ-like. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is funny, but your type of humor, how you operate, your different love languages, there's different levels to it that makes you you. And I feel like a lot of young adults, people in general, I'm not even just going to put it in one generation, but people in general, they kind of lose themselves, lose their identity in thinking that their Christ walk is going good. And in all actuality, they're really falling into self-righteousness. But that's another conversation for another day. And I want to focus on the topic at hand. And that is trying to build community as a believer when the world mocks you, society clowns you, and there's a lot of false information going around about your belief system. And even within the church, you kind of are like, dang, like there's other people here, but at the same time, I don't think they fully understand me, because I ain't gonna lie, a lot of people within the church, they tend to be really judgmental as well. The judginess doesn't end just because non-believers judge us for believing in Jesus Christ. No, unfortunately, we tend to judge each other because we're humans and we were born in a world of sin. That does not make it right, but that tries to define the source. So now we know how to operate, how to respond. If I go into a church and I'm, confidently who I am, and some people may not agree with how I carry myself or how I talk, how I explain the word that God has given me, the interpretation of, his word, they may not get it. That's fine. We have to be okay with not being validated by man, because our source of validation comes from God. And that also is as a result, an understanding of self-esteem, confidence in self, all of that. Because if you don't figure that out, then you're constantly going to be looking at this minister, that pastor, that apostle, and looking for their validation. Or if you're a non-believer, you're going to be looking in the world, you're going to be looking at different celebrities and seeking validation, trying to fit in to a certain box when you're not a box or a triangle and you're not supposed to fit in that. So it's just like everyone needs to take a step back and understand who you are, who is self. Okay, understand God's word for yourself, because an issue that I had, I didn't honestly, growing up, I didn't really care too much about God's word. I'm gonna keep it a bean. Can I be honest? I didn't really care. In high school, trying to make friends at church, I just did things that everyone else was doing. I did praise dance, I did choir, I joined, the youth groups just because all the other youth was doing it. I still didn't belong because some of them they have actually been elevating their walk with Christ. And I was just there because this is where the rest of the youth were at. In public school, I didn't fit in with them either growing up. I'm a mixed girl. I'm light skinned, so I'm not black enough to fit in with some of the black girls, and I'm not Hispanic enough to fit in with the Puerto Rican girls because I don't speak Spanish. I don't have that much of the culture. So it's like, it's always going to be something where you don't fit in all the way. But God made me beautifully and wonderfully made, and he made me a person who was meant to be confident, but I allowed the world to diminish that confidence at a young age because they didn't like me. They didn't like the way I looked. They didn't like the things that I said. But God helped build that back up over time. So now I'm talking to a camera. I'm, trying to build up my social media presence. I'm a very bubbly person. I talk to all people. I talk to strangers. I'm a very talkative person. But that comes with the confidence. I'm able to do that because I know who I am, because God has showed me. Yes, we find our identity in Christ, but each person's identity is not the same. Let's think logically. If we all were supposed to be the exact same, there would be no point in all of us having different mommy and daddies. There's just no point. No group operates in a good light if you don't understand self. Just because you're a believer and just because you're trying to do things on your righteous walk does not make it the end of your search for self. Even me, there's things that I still question about myself as I'm still trying to figure out as I've done this big change in my life. Just because you understand what the truth is, you understand who you believe in, you understand what is right, but your self-growth and understanding of self does not end. There's always going to be things that tweak and change is because God is not done with us. I feel like that's a very important part when you're trying to build relationships with anyone, because if you don't got that together, then all those relationships are just going to crumble down because you don't have an understanding of who you are. How are you going to try to explain to someone else who you are if you don't know who you are? So just think on that. And then let's continue with the show, okay? A lot of what I said about, platonic relationships can go into romantic relationships. Now, the thing with that, I don't have much knowledge on how that works as a believer, because most of my relationship advice will come from a non-believer stance. I mean, I still have the same morals, but the whole idea of saving yourself until marriage and how to properly court someone, I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. So I don't have too much for that, but I do still have a strong belief that if you don't have, confidence in self, if you don't have a good identity of who you are and what you want in life, then you don't need to be worried about no type of romantic relationship with nobody. We all be trying to say, oh, I can't wait till my wife comes or my husband comes. You don't need to be worried about that if you don't know what your purpose is in life. Okay, you don't need to be worried about none of that, or even friendships as well too, because sometimes God puts us in places of self-isolation, and I went through a period of that myself to relearn who I was because I lost myself in previous relationships, and God places us there to protect us and to get us back at a secret place with Him. So if you are still struggling with self-identity, maybe dig deeper into His Word and see what He has aligned for you. And if people keep falling off of the face of the earth, if friends keep, ghosting you, or that guy that you like keeps ghosting you, maybe that's God's way of being like, hey, you worried about the wrong thing. You don't have your priorities together. A personal example, when I first came back out here to my church, I remember one of the first things that was told to me when I went up to the altar was, God is saying, don't worry about no relationships. Just worry about me and you. And I'm still in that phase. And as I'm trying to fulfill the purpose that He has for me over my life, I have to be okay with, I can't be worried about no man. Unfortunately. But no, I can't be worried about no man. I can't be worried about friendships, because when you're worried about it, you're forcing these things, and I don't want nothing to be forced. And when I don't worry about it and I keep God first, I see a flow of new friendships blooming. I see a flow of new people that I'm meeting. So it's it's again with that saying of keeping God first, and everything else will literally follow. When it comes to romantic relationships, especially as a believer, especially as humans, when we desire, that higher level of intimacy, it's natural, but prioritize self and your relationship with God, and everything's going to be cool, because you need to be satisfied with this. And as much as I'm saying this to y'all, I'm really saying this to me, because I need to be satisfied with this relationship, because I know that if I get any other relationship before then, I may idolize that and put that before God. When God has given that to me, I don't want to, disobey Him. I don't want to be ungrateful to my God. In both scenarios, when it comes to meeting new people, right? Now, a lot of these things are easier to handle. A lot of conversations are trying to make connections with people that for a fact are already believers. Say if these people go to your church, or you meet a friend of a friend, those relationships are easier to build because you have some of those similar morals. Now, let's talk about, what happens when you meet people and they're not believers, or they're not in that same frame of reference of who God is, like you're in. I personally think that every conversation is worth something, right? I don't think that just because someone is like mocking you off rip to just totally dog that person and then walk away. I don't think that's what Jesus would do. I don't think that's meant, I don't think that's what a Christ-like character would be, because that doesn't show compassion. Whereas believers, we're supposed to understand that we don't fight against actual human beings, but the spirits and things behind them. Because I feel like that's literally the simplest example of empathy. Like everything that this person can be angry about that's trying to push everything upon you now may have nothing to do with the root of the problem. The root of the problem in them could be something that happened years ago. Specifically why I wanted to talk about this, and this is kind of what led to the topic of discussion this week, because I saw a TikTok, of course, of a girl on a phone. She was recording her painting and she was on the phone with some guy. And I'm going to show y'all the clip really quickly. Because
for some reason, every Christian gets on my nerves. I don't know, man. But some of them be cool, though. I don't know. And I don't know what type of Christian you are yet. So what music do you listen to? What you don't listen to?
I listen to a lot more Afro beats.
So, when nigga became Christian, listen to African music.
Respectfully though, like if that's how you're gonna, I don't like that. I don't know how many times I gotta verbalize this to people, but like just because you might not agree or like something, cause it comes off like disrespectful. I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. Be myself. But
you can't take a joke now since you're Christian.
That's not a joke.
It was the doo-doo. It honestly was the doo-doo. It was the quick hang up. Now, there's so many things I want to unpack here, because I've had similar conversations like this before I was even, very upfront with my beliefs. Like anything, if you can't tell, I'm a very opinionated, outspoken person. And when I believe in something, not just belief in God, in Jesus, but belief on my morals and what I stand for, what I feel like is right. I'm going to make it known if I disagree with something that you're saying. And I've had a lot of tough conversations, and some people just disagree and they don't have nothing to say. So they hang up, run away, or they mock you, try to laugh at you. And I just personally think that is so hilarious. But honestly, this particular situation blew me only because it's like, okay, it's the lack of accountability that the young man had on the phone. Some people was closer with and tried to explain to them my beliefs. They would mock me, but I understand that it's not about me. It's not a personal attack to me. It may feel like that in the moment because our flesh feels irritated. Our flesh is like, oh my God, like you're not listening, because they don't understand just how we as believers, we have to remember that there was a time where I didn't understand. There was a time where I was defensive. I mean, I have mocked Christians before, for sure. But that's a whole other story. But like, I can empathize because I've been there in that place. So it's like, coming from that place, I know that he's just irritated because he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the joy that young lady may have. He doesn't understand, why she believes so strongly that she doesn't listen to secular music, or she doesn't, do the things that most young adults do. And he doesn't get it. It's up to God for him to show that young man different examples of how God has operated in his life. But it's not in our hands any longer. We can't force that relationship. And I wanted to show that clip because not only was it trending on TikTok, but I feel like it's a very relatable example. Because when you're meeting new people on like even social media, because nowadays we meet more people off of social media than in person. So when you're getting to know someone, his first statement was, I really don't like Christians. They do too much. And actually recently someone has said to me before that like they asked what is something they can do around in the area. I said, go to church. That's all I do. That's not all I do. I'm lying, because I can't stand a person who the only thing that they do is go to church. Like, we love church. We love supporting the church. But please, God has made all this other stuff. He has given us the opportunity to travel, to meet other people, to talk to those other people. Let's not stay in those four walls. Now, some people, that is their main job. Got it. Cool. But me, Zhan, I like to go be around. I like to experience different things. And I was telling them that like the church, it be lit once you finally understand, church is literally where it's at. I'm not gonna lie. Like, once you understand that level of peace and understand what God has brung you through, it's like, dang, I dang near just want to go to church. But this young man that I knew, he was like, oh, I haven't been to church in a minute. Okay, understandable. He was like, I don't really like they always be like Jesus this and Jesus that and da-da-da. And I'm like, which is understandable, because hence me, I am now God this, God that, Jesus saved, Jesus loves you, because it's the truth, because I've been awakened. But I understand, I didn't like get mad at him. I still text him from now and then, because I understand he hasn't been able to experience that love, because it's something the enemy is blocking his mind from understanding it. And whether he wants to believe or not, that's not in my hands. But I'm going to continue to do me, because I'm confident in who I am. And I didn't take offense to what he said, because I'm not shoving my belief down nobody's throat. Like, if you subscribe to my channel, if you want to be a little angel, you understand what's up, what it is, what I do. And if you don't, that's cool. You know, I understand. I came into this understanding that not everyone is going to like my content. And I understand not everyone, you know, has gone through things that I've gone through and have the same shared experiences. But it's okay. And I feel like that's the second thing that, you know, we should focus on as believers, or just anyone who's trying to believe community, that it's okay if people don't agree with you. It's okay if people don't see eye to eye with you. But be wise and understand that, okay, if this person off rip doesn't, you know, see the importance of my relationship with God, then maybe our friendship, our relationship can only go so far. Maybe we're not going to be the best of buds. Maybe we're not going to kick it all the time and spend time together. And maybe if I invite them to church, maybe they're not going to go. But I'm not going to take offense to it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the reality that we face. Like, I'm gonna keep doing me, they gonna keep doing them, and God's gonna do the rest, because it's at the end of the day, it's God's job. You know, like, I didn't tell them about the Lord. I have a whole podcast. All of my social media is faith-based, so it's just like, you know, you win some, you lose some. Okay, a lot of people just don't understand your walk, and that's okay. But for other people to be disrespectful is crazy. But we have to always understand, just like how she said in her TikTok as well, that, like, you know, as a believer, we understand that they don't get it, and we can't get offended when they offend us because of their lack of understanding. I just hope that this shows a example to, you know, other people that, like, she literally was just chilling and was just like, hey bro, I don't appreciate when you talk to me like this, or when you're basically like mocking me. I don't like it. And he got mad, and he continued to mock her because she was a Christian. And it's like, it wasn't that she couldn't take no joke. If you were self-aware enough, if it's something that you really care about so much to your heart, and I'm trying to be vulnerable and share this with you, and in hopes that, like, you would at least respect me enough to, you know, whatever, you off rip, get mad and be like, and tell me how much you don't like Christians. How am I supposed to respond to that? You know, like, it just wasn't a mature way of handling it. But y'all can let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you agree with Buddy? Was she tweaking? Was she not tweaking? Did she handle it good? Or how would you handle that situation if you're a believer? Because as a believer, if someone came up to me and questioned my beliefs, I'll be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And probably a whole lot of types. You know, I'll probably be like, tight. But I feel it. And I would just carry on with my life and pray. I would immediately pray for myself, honestly, because I'm not trying to get an attitude or get mad at them, because I understand that they're in a place of misunderstanding. But the moral of the story is that we all can't just prejudge, because there was some other believer or Christian that hurt him. That's why he responded in that way, or something that Christians have done, you know, he didn't like. And for whatever reason, you know, he took all of that anger and hurt onto that girl, and she didn't even do anything. You know, she just was just letting him know, like, yeah, I'm a Christian, whatever. And he got offended. So that's what I mean when you got to look behind the person. You got to, you know, be more empathetic and understanding that there could be a multiplicity of reasons why he, you know, reacted that way. But we also had to be upfront and real that even though he reacted that way, doesn't mean that she's always just going to be, oh, it's okay. Praise the Lord. God bless you. I'm going to keep praying for you. Because no, everyone has their breaking point. I ain't going to lie. If it was a rainy day and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I may have said some ungodly words to him. But, God's going to have to deal with me on that. We do get a lot of hate, but I understand it. It's crazy because it's like, all of us didn't do that. All of us don't treat you like that. But because of someone who did treat you like that, you look at all of us wrong. And for another example, look at, the way some white people and black people interact. A lot of people in the black community don't like white people. Let's keep it a beamy. Why? Because of the, systemic racism, systemic issues that other community has brung upon us. But I met some pretty cool white people and understand that not all white people are like that. Some of them, the sting of hurt things and hurt words last longer than the peace that you get when someone affirms you. And I feel like that's the underlining issue, that whatever hurt that young man, whatever Christian hurt him, it's that sting is still there, to where someone even just saying that they're a Christian, he off rip was just like, I don't like Christians. Y'all do too much, or whatever the heck he said. Or even like the gentleman that I know, like, just saying y'all always Jesus this, Jesus that. But I understand he hasn't been able to experience that love, that joy, that sense of peace. I'm going to empathize with that because I know what it's like to not have that. I know what it's like to not understand that. You just got to change the way you look at everything. Kind of going into the next topic, that like there's a lot of people that I used to be around all the time, used to kick it with, used to party with, drink with, smoke with, that I barely talk to today. And some of them may understand where I'm at or they don't, but there's a multiplicity of reasons why we may not kick it as much. One, because I'm not a friend of convenience anymore. I'm not in the same city. We don't go to the same school no more. But knowing that like you can see clear as day what type of time I'm on based off of my social media profiles, all of them, that some people may not agree with, but I respect the people who at least see the peace that it has brung me and the shine and the glow that I have because of my change of my path. Now I can respect that. Okay, what I can't respect is when people start trying to mock you or, make fun of you. We just see things differently. And the way that I see it is that we're just all misunderstood no matter what you believe in. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to respect. Me personally, as a believer, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody else. Now, being disrespected and being offended are two totally different things. And that's like, I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but being blatantly like disrespectful to what someone believes in is like, kind of clowning them for what they believe in. Now, me disagreeing with what someone else believes in, like if someone believes in another, religion or something like that, I would be like, well, I don't necessarily agree because I believe X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Now, they could be like, oh, you're disrespecting my walk. I'm not disrespecting you. I just see things differently. Now you're being offended. You see the difference? Sometimes people are already offended before you even say anything because of how you carry yourself. And if you're already on, say I'm already on social media and I'm proclaiming how I'm a believer and God and all this other stuff, some people are off rip going to be offended just because of whatever other hurt. So when I speak, the truth that I believe in, now some people be like, oh, you're disrespectful to whatever different communities. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just speaking on what I believe. You're just offended because you don't like what I have to say. So we have to pay attention to the difference because it can be confusing on which side you're leaning to. Are you leaning towards, oh, these people are disrespecting me? Or is it the reality of, I'm just offended and I don't want to have to hear what this group of people have to say because I totally disagree with all of their beliefs. That's a difference. Once we can keep it a beanie and understand what it is, then we could figure out how to respond later. And, like if someone is mocking you for whatever you believe in, always handle it with grace. Kind of basic what I've been saying, but also the simple fact that like, God may be protecting you, going back to that whole idea that if you have to have a period of isolation, a time where, you're separated from people to further understand who you are as an individual, just do that with grace. Don't force all these other friendships. Along with losing some friendships because of what you believe in, there's also the harsh reality that you may not like to do the things that you used to do. And it's hard for some people to understand. And I feel like that's another issue that comes about. You don't want to do what they do. So they think that you're better than them because you don't want to do what they do. And it's like, where is that idea coming from? Just because I don't want to party, I don't want to drink and smoke no more. Now you think that I'm thinking that I'm better than you because I don't want to party with you. I'm not saying we can't kick it, but can we do something else other than this? If you want to kick it with me, let's do something else because I don't like to do those things. You see how I'm not disrespecting them, but they're in a spirit of offense. You know, they're offended because you're friends. That's your buddy. And y'all usually kick it. Y'all usually go drink, smoke. Y'all usually go party, go to the club. And now that they don't want to do that, they lost someone that they could be in this fake heaven with. And I can understand that because not only am I mourning my old self, my old friends, and, you know, maybe even family may be mourning the old Zhan VA. But to keep it a beamy, if y'all really care about me, friends, family, whoever, y'all will understand that I'm doing things that are better for me, better for my future. So can you really say that you cared about me or loved me if you're offended because I don't want to do what you want to do? Doesn't that sound a little selfish? I don't know. As I became more involved in school, now it's like the people I was around, this is what they did. People I was around, they were party goers for real. So I'm like, okay, then I started to like it because I liked the busyness of it. It kept my mind off of, you know, the harsh realities of life. I was inebriated all the time. So it was just like, it was bliss. Being ignorant to the realities of life is blissful. Of course, who wouldn't want to do that? But the reality is those moments don't last forever. And a lot of times they lead to things that do last forever. Certain traumatic things may happen, or you may get in trouble, or you end up doing things you ain't supposed to do, or doing things that you regret the next day. A lot of people I know, including myself, have had a lot of those circumstances happen. It confuses me on why people get offended or why they get hurt or why they feel some type of way because I'm choosing to do me and put me first and do things that are healthy for me. But when I'm not taking care of myself, when I'm wasting money on going to parties, when I'm trying to get certain attention that I don't need for my life, no one cares. It's cool because it's normalized. I blend in with the crowd. You know, I don't have a sense of identity because of this whole group of people is doing the same exact thing. So it doesn't matter. But once Zhan VA sticks out, once any one of you sticks out and you're shining and you're glowing and you're doing things that you love to do and you have a certain sense of peace, now people are going to start mocking you. They're going to start picking on you like, you kind of sticking out a little too much. You need to tone it down because you were blending in and now you're going on higher and higher heights because you're eliminating more and more distractions. Those people aren't for you. Those aren't true friends. And it's a harsh reality and it's a hard thing when you're becoming a believer, or if you're on any walk of life, you understand that like, dang, I'm doing something different and it's not the same stuff I used to be. It's not only hard for you, but it's also hard for your friends because they're losing a friend. All of those things were fun and dandy, but they left a huge void in my heart and I decided to fill it with the love of God. I'm learning to be okay with the fact that some of those people just weren't my friend. They weren't a close person in my life. Some of them didn't even really know my life story. And it's okay. The reason why I can be so confident in it being okay is because I know who I am. And the thing is I knew who I was back then, but it was easier to go have a drink, go party, go smoke. But now all of those things weren't working. I had to try Jesus again. I had to try coming back and being like, okay, Lord, what the heck do you want from me? You know, I don't know. These things are just on my mind because that video really made me think about these things and have that realization that if you're not confident in who you are, it's going to be hard for you to make friends in the church, outside of the church, and friends that you've already had, you know, that aren't believers. It's going to be hard for them and for you because there's a change of season. There's a change of chapter. No matter what route you go, someone's going to be a hater and someone's going to plot on your downfall. And you just have to know how to respond to that and how to get through that and, you know, brush it off your shoulder and not front them because who cares. That's just the way I see it, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. To all of my little angels, that means my subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you click that subscribe button below. Thank you to all of my other listeners on different podcasting platforms. I hope you all get some good rest. And like always, I love you. And most importantly, God loves you. And I'll see each and every one of my little angels next week on Bedtime Talks with Zhan. Peace.